Hey everybody, it's Steven and
I'm Kyle.
we're here to talk about, well, guess what? What are we talking about, Kyle?
Oh, something happened today. Something happened. Something big. GW promised that they were going to have the data slate, and like the student who turns in the paper at the very last minute.
Very true.
But interestingly, unlike the student who turns in the paper at the very last minute, which is usually, little pieces here and there, this was comprehensive.
It really was.
And there's a lot to talk about. And so Steve and I were talking about it in advance, and I said, oh man, well, we're not doing this for 2.5 hours, which you could do.
You could easily do, and some people that we're good friends with did
do that. Right, yeah, absolutely. I didn't say that, but yes, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And so we're, one of the things we should say in advance is that we are going to cover a lot of territory here. We're going to be talking about the good parts. Are there things we're going to miss?
What are we going to miss?
Oh, tons of stuff.
Oh, tons of stuff?
Yeah. Just realistic. There's just too much.
No, I agree. There's so many changes. I will immediately clap for them for doing red and green so we know what changes are
in there. Oh, my gosh.
Finally, it's amazing. Thank you, GW, for doing that. Amazing, for sure.
Instead of having us pour through and be like, and this went up, and this went up this, and this went up this. But no, and it also, I will tell you, because I'm always thinking about this from a practical level.
Yes.
Whatever army you're playing, a good exercise is to go through and say, okay, no matter what I think about what about the changes, what are the units that were, here's what you're looking for. Units that were looking pretty okay, but weren't seeing a lot of major play, and maybe they dropped a little bit. Or alternatively, you're looking for units that were seeing a lot of play, and maybe they changed a little bit. I think the poster boy for this is, boy, if you were playing orcs, knobs, 5 points a unit. That is not enough to stop you from taking knobs.
No, it's not.
Not even remotely close.
No.
And so, even if you're like, man, I had 18 squig hogs or whatever, right?
Yep.
Which I think a lot of us did.
Yes.
Right. Like, it's there. Let's put it this way: there's plenty of other stuff that's going to get pushed into that category, especially once we know what people are actually playing, what the meta looks like, what the shape of it is.
There's a lot of what's going to happen in the next month is really going to shape the new meta, right? So. So as we go along, of course, we'll start with the Adeptus Sororitas here in a moment, but I see some interesting changes. I'm very excited about other things, which we'll go over. It's got me like reinvigorated over my Drakari.
Yeah.
And even my Genestealer cult, because the little things they did, suddenly there's certain things on the menu that weren't before, and I'm just so excited. So let's go.
I think there's a lot to be excited about. So let's start with Adeptus Sororitas.
Let's get in there. Well, let me see if I can bring it up because I'm grabbing the wrong camera as always.
As Steven is pulling this up, we have another document that we're not necessarily going to go point by point through, which is so there's the points themselves. And then there are adjustments to the armies. And so, for example, Adeptus Sororitas.
Oh, there it comes.
I like that it's ghostly. It's like
it's ghostly and not where I planned, but that's fine. We'll deal with it, and I'll move it so we're both ghostly.
You shall meet 3 in the
exactly
before the night is done. So, Adeptus Sororitas. One of the things that happened, if you've been playing Adeptus Sororitas, you might have been playing the Triumph, and the Triumph. You could get near it, and you could just machine gun, turn dice into 6s, and unleash unbelievable amounts of Melta. They curbed that a little bit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so now that it's just the 2 dice that you can use for it. So that's one of the limitations we see with that. Adeptus Sororitas, we got some points changes here. The most significant and the most immediate you're going to see is that Arcoflagellants, which people were routinely spamming like 30 of.
I'm going to move around this way while you do that. Keep going.
No problem. People were routinely spamming like 30 Arcoflagellants. Why? Well, they absorbed a lot of damage. They were obnoxious to kill. And they could definitely pick up chaff in some significant units just by sheer weight of dice. And so they took that, they reversed it. And so now you have, you might still see blocks of these, but you're not going to see every sororitas list running 30 of them. Okay. Additionally, I know we're going to pop that back up in just.
Yes, I'm just fixing an error.
That's all right. One of the things that happened is that suits in general, right? The big suits.
Yeah.
Those have, we haven't been seeing a lot of play for those. They're kind of expensive. They're relatively easy to kill. And so what people have been doing is they want to put Mordenval with somebody. They want Mordenval to be in the list. And so GW made a little bit of an adjustment there where Mordenval went up in points. The suits themselves went down in points. And so there was a little bit of rebalancing. But if you're a Sisters player, you're in a good mood because you're 10 points up on that, right? One of the things that also happened across the board is that if it was shooting out of line of sight, it got hit. Right, it got hit. And so the Exorcist is no exception here. It gets nailed with some points increases. Other than that, the other points that we see on here are probably not hugely significant. Again, what's our top one up there? The something squad. Oh yeah, the Retributors. I still don't think you're going to see them. Our other three on the right, probably those aren't making a huge difference.
So we do have a question coming in from Warren, no less. Warren's telling us that. So why is a decent to good unit getting bumped just 5 points?
So which one?
Exactly. So let's go into, like, for example, orcs. Sure. Like the whole point in bumping points is to encourage you, right, to look at other units that potentially are more efficient now. Yep. And that's really, they don't want to make it where no one ever plays them, but they just want to make it where units that aren't being played now, you're looking at them because, hey, the army list is easier to build because now these units are cheaper. And so that's generally why we're seeing point boosts. And the other reason why we're seeing points boosts if they're being used all the time. Yep. And we all know knobs were in every orc list because they were so efficient and they did bad things to people. So that's the reason why there. So thanks for the question, though. And
so just to go back to Warren's question, because it goes to the core of what we're doing here, which is that when we're thinking about these adjustments, the criteria is that generally speaking, what GW wants to do, what's good for the game too, is that they would like units that are not seen play.
Oh, nice. I can do it that way. Yep, keep one.
Get a little bit more love.
Exactly.
Right? And the armies that are overperforming, right? If the entry point to playing competitive 40K is you have to have, X number of accursed cultists and X number of our leader squad, right? Yeah. Then the game starts to become kind of repetitive, right? And there's certain, and let's put it this way, there's ruts we get stuck in. When the meta is at its best, it means that you can say, you know what, there's pretty much any army I can pick up, and I will be able to build a competitive version of it. Maybe I get pushed into certain units, right? Like if you're playing Sisters, you're still playing Mordenval, right? But you're not in such a position that you have to say these are the only things that I can play.
Exactly. And that's why for me I put my GSC up, because there was only one list.
Yep.
Whenever you deviated from it, you got smashed.
Yep.
Now with some points changes, now there's other units that we can toss in there that are really useful, but they were not points efficient. So I'm really excited about that, of course. So we're looking at Custodes next.
Custodes. Jack Harpster. So excited about Custodes. I was talking to him today, and yes, he is elated. The points in general are down, but the big news for Custodes, the big change is, you remember Devastating Wounds? You remember how you could just kill Custodes with them and the game would end?
Yeah.
Right? And they had this dumb detachment ability where it was like, well, it helps you against mortal wounds, not against dev wounds.
Yep.
And so you just get killed by those anyway. So GW was like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what it should do.
Yeah.
And so that's what it does now. That's good.
So it's fair.
It's fair.
For them.
And so they also got drops on stuff that is logical. They got 5 points on most of their good units. If you were wanting to run bike captains, oh baby.
They're cheap now, huh?
-40.
Woohoo!
-40 is real.
That's real.
That's very real.
That's a fast unit that's going to hurt you.
Right. And one of the nice things is with Custodes, you got some choices. Right now, you're going to be buying some Forge World units. There's no question about it.
If you're a Custodes player, you better have some Forge World stuff.
Right. And so you're going to have Calidus. Caladius. Because again, you can't name an assassin one thing and then another thing, like one letter different. But
yeah.
But like you're gonna have some tanks, you're gonna have some troops, Your troops are going to move up. You're going to save up 2 CP and go, if you charge me, I'm going to fight first, or I'm going to reduce damage, or I'm going to blank, right?
Yep.
And you can't just ice them with dev wounds anymore. You can't ice them without a line of sight. So, Steven and I were talking beforehand, and Steven, you raised a point that I think is worth mentioning here, which is you were a little worried because
I feel like this could push them into the top tier potentially, but I definitely see them as a mid-tier bully for sure. And then, like you were putting in, you feel like at most it'll be mid-tier bully, but great or good players potentially can win events.
I think that's 100% what will happen.
And I think no matter what, that's what we want. I'd rather have them be a mid-tier bully than top tier because then they're so oppressive. But I think a skilled Custodes player will win games and win GW stuff and win RTTs and whatever. But if you're not, then you're going to be wherever you end up.
And if you're someone out there who's like, man, I play Custodes all the time. My friend has me, always beats me with them, right?
Yep.
I will tell you how to win that match.
There you go.
Which is, unless your friend is very skilled, you can do things like, you can be like our friend Chris who plays NIDS, and be like, here's 10 gargoyles, right? and I can fit more guys on an objective. Well, I'll go out and kill those gargoyles. Okay, cool, more gargoyles. Right?
Exactly.
Like move, just keep blocking them, kill all their scoring stuff, give them a very low score on secondary.
Yep.
And then maybe you don't even kill any of them. It doesn't really matter all that much. You can win on points.
Exactly. Right? Just play the points game. You can beat Custodes because they just don't have the footprint to really deal with it. If they divide their forces to deal with multiple situations, that actually benefits you because it's much easier to deal with smaller batches of Custodes than the death ball up the middle.
Right. And again, a skilled player, I think, can still win events with this. Absolutely. They weren't bad before, and they certainly aren't bad now. They're a strong army, and they're very hard to remove. But what you have to do is you have to pick your battles. And again, I think that you will see these move up to A tier. It's possible if again, I don't know exactly without testing how far this goes up, but it's a significant army.
And yep. Odin says the best way to deal with them is just throw waves of guards at them.
It'll work, right? If you get out and you're just like move, right? And they just go stand there, and the guardsmen just kind of peer in at them, right? And they come out and kill you, and then you're like, you know what? I actually had a Dorn behind those guys, right? Then that works great, right? It turns out no one likes to be shot by a Dorn.
Nobody likes being shot by a Dorn.
Yeah,
for sure. So I think Custodes for now are in a good place, and we'll see how out of hand they get, or if they stay balanced. And if it's balanced, great job, GW. If it's not balanced, great job, DW. Okay, let's see who we got next here. We're moving up AdMech, Unchanged. Now, they're not a bad army.
They're not.
It requires a skilled player with in-depth knowledge of this army. This has never been an easy army to play. It has great tools. Not much else to say there. What do you think?
I think that Richard Siegler's depressed about them.
Well, that tells you a lot,
and
actually.
It does, yeah. And so part of the reason is because if you look at LVO, there were the best that any AdMech player did was 4-2, right? Yeah. Oh, actually, no. Sorry, I'm wrong. I think maybe they. I
made sure a couple of them only went 3-3 or 2-4.
Yeah. And so that's the thing is that AdMech have some crazy good matchups.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you go into Knights.
Oh, they're gonna be happy.
That can be a bad match for them because you bring out the breachers and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna pick you up.
Yep.
Right. But if you're playing something where they can get really crafty, they can get around you, they don't care, they can kill your stuff really quickly.
Yep.
Right, because you can get 5 million chickens. It also does cost an astronomical amount.
Most expensive army, one of the most expensive armies to collect.
And the current version of it is a horde army, which doesn't make a lot of sense, right?
It makes them hard to deal with.
It makes them very hard to deal with. If you have somebody who's like, you know, man, I got the money for 18 chickens and I'll do it.
Yep.
If you don't have the tools to remove that, it gets really annoying.
And the fun thing, like, just as someone who's played into the Horde and the Elite version, the Horde is so hard to deal with. The Elite, very easy to deal with. They're coming at you with big things that you can just kill.
Yeah.
Where the Horde mode is like, I can't kill enough.
Yeah, they get wave after wave of Vanguard. They're again we're in a particular mission set.
Yep.
Where there isn't a no prisoners that goes to 10 or goes to 8 or that's fixed.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah. So killing wave after wave of guys, there's no fixed secondary you can pick and just be like, well, I'm going to punish you for having 100 Skitarii. Right?
Exactly. And before we continue, please hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment if this is after the fact. If you're here now, just hang out and chat, ask us questions. We'll answer them. Continue, sir.
I'll answer them rudely.
Oh.
I'll only answer them rudely, especially Warren's questions. All right.
Yes.
I don't think there's much more to say about AdMech. I think that
right.
that AdMech players are probably a little disappointed today because I think they would have liked to see something.
Yeah, we don't care about the tight cannons. Yeah. Now Eldari.
Woo! Well, you want to talk about sad people?
There are some sad people. They only hit the stuff that was really in the list.
Ooh, but they hit the army as a whole. So let's talk about some army-wide changes. So before, Steven.
Yes, sir.
2, 4, 6, and then I would keep counting, but I don't keep counting anymore. This is all we get, unless you run Eldrad, which you now want to because you get up to 9.
Yes.
Right, but it's not. You're not getting the sheer quantity of fate dice that you have,
which is needed because it was out of control.
It was wildly out of control.
But here's the thing that people don't realize. Still, though, that there's a good thing here. They're going to bring back the Guardians, right? The Defender Guardians, and because they will produce more of them. So they're back in the meta, if you will, at least in my mindset. And the thing that I learned, I didn't look to see if they changed this, but this is something that GWFEQ'd and blew my mind. They could roll the dice, and then you go, oh, no, I turned into a 6. That's the reason why I lost against them 1-1, because they were just like, nah, it's a 6. Nah, I couldn't damage things that I had to, and that was so frustrating. And, of course, the biggest change, and the one that I love the most, that wasn't even a points change, a strategy change. The fact now, Phantasm is a random movement.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, that hurts them, right? That basically takes that stratagem and throws it off the table.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things I'll say, too, is that as someone who plays an army that has those movement shenanigans, right? I play Marines where you can get back into the transporter, you can move X amount. When you play that and you roll a 1, and you're like, okay, I guess I get to move 1 inch.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's like it's with a side of ugh.
Yeah,
right?
for sure, right?
No, and so that fixed a little bit of Wraithguard, and then they did the patented quad nerf, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so they nailed them with the Wraithguard, right? The Wraithguard went up in points.
Yep. The Night Spinners went up in points.
Fate's Messenger, you can no longer pop a 6 and just say, I'm going to use that on the Wraithguard. Instead, if you attach somebody to him and you use that 6, it's got to be used on the guy.
Which is what we would like to see.
We would like to see. And then if you were the Yakarn, you didn't get points increases, but now you're doing it once. You're doing it in your turn.
Yep.
And you're not getting to just run everywhere around the board. Which
is fine. I think the reality is, honestly, the Incarn at this point probably didn't need to be touched. Only reason I say this is the everyone against them had learned how to deal with them. You could easily trap them, like you'd let something die, they blend here, and then you shoot it to death. Yeah. So there was ways to deal with it. People learned how, but this definitely makes it even more of a less desirable unit.
And one of the things I often think about is that people that I think this is maybe just sort of a concept question is like, okay, so let's say you're going to play competitive with your first tournament. What is the buy-in level of knowledge that you had to have?
Yes.
Eldari, it was like, you actually probably got to know a lot of stuff, right? If you had an unkind opponent and they didn't tell you, hey, by the way, I can move 7. Hey, by the way, I can pop up, hit you, and then turn into something else.
Yep.
I think that's a welcome change. The Night Spinner.
What a nightmare unit to deal with.
It was annoying.
Yep.
And I don't think anybody's sad to be like, well, I mean, because people are still gonna run them at 220. People will still run them.
You probably only see 2 at most, and definitely 1. 1 is just a very usable unit. 2, we're pushing it. 3 is out. No.
And again, it -2 move advanced charge is less oppressive, and frankly, that's what the Basilisk does. So unless I'm willing to insult the Basilisk, which I'm not, right? I think that it's fine.
And the nice thing is, Eldari still have an answer to Necrons. It's just not as cheap.
Right. And again, I think all of us will be happy to see Eldari play some different units, especially now that I think that probably they might actually get a buff in the next one, because I think they probably don't have enough points in a lot of cases to play the game. Yeah,
that might be really rough for them. The reality is also, most people don't realize this, but Eldari have a very deep book of models, right? So they have a lot to draw from, but they are expensive to play with. And that's where people are like, yes, they have the tools, but the price can be often out of reach. So that we'll have to see how they generally fix them if this is too much.
Right.
If we see them at 30% win rate, we're gonna be like, oh, that was too much, GW.
Will we though? I mean, I don't know. I think.
Well, we won't be for the first month.
Yeah, the first month we won't be, but maybe
on the second month when a couple of our friends are crying, then maybe we'll start listing.
Yeah, well,
I remember from 9th when I was playing my Harlequins and I complained that they got nerfed. Everyone's like, we can't hear you. You were so good for so long. We don't even care what happened to you.
I'd like to pretend I don't still feel that way. All right, so I like to pretend. All right.
But let's move on to the next army. We could talk forever about Aldari.
Yeah.
Ancients of the Imperium, nothing really changed. We don't care. Or what do you want to say?
I don't want to say anything.
We don't care.
It's an army that that is only interesting relative to the to other points things. So we might talk about it later on.
Yeah, Astra Militarum, the army that is your first love.
Yeah.
That you're cheating on lately. Against.
Yeah. Well, and it's a bad day to be a Manticore, right?
Because they didn't really help you. They left you. It doesn't help when occasionally someone wins a GT with them.
Yeah. You know? Well, here's the thing, man. Guard have never been bad. Guard have never been bad.
It's just bad players usually.
Yeah, that's
the thing is, Guard require a high skill level, and you have to play the list, right? I've gone against Guard who played troop heavy. I've gone against Guard who played tank heavy. But when I go into Guard that's artillery heavy with screens and stuff, that's a nightmare.
It is, and you have to also know how to balance that, right? So if those folks out there who are like, oh man, I'm not playing my Manticores anymore, I got good news for you. Basilisk. And the Basilisk, in my opinion, was like almost more interesting than the Manticore anyway. With auto wounding 6s, that was hot. I mean, you've got that across the board, so you're sitting there. They're relatively cheap. They're relatively durable. And you know, generally speaking, if you got Leo in the back, Leo, at least to my mind, is issuing 3 orders. Then maybe going to artillery. If you were like, oh man, I was putting 3 Manticores back there, you were probably having trouble playing the game anyway. Yeah. Right. And so this is a case where I think that GW wants people to take Dorns. They want people, and it would have been nice, GW, if we had gotten some points other places. But they did give one little nice thing, which is now if you get out of a transport or you drop in, you get to give an order.
That's good.
It's good.
That's
and
real
so
good.
all of a sudden, if you're like, oh man, I got these Castricans and they're going to get out, but then they're not going to have any orders.
Now you can get out and be like, give them, was it first rank, second rank fire kind of stuff?
First rank, second rank, you can be +1 to hit, so you can be hitting on 2s. That's pretty good.
That's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's bananas. And then, or you can be Scions and you can be, you can be like, I'm going to drop a little unit in, I'm going to drop a little unit in. Now I'm going to drop a big unit in, right? And I'm going to attach stuff to them. Scions will kill stuff, man. They will, because they get to reroll when they're shooting at stuff on objectives. All of a sudden, that starts to look pretty darn strong.
Yeah, I agree with you. So since they didn't change a lot, we've covered some good points, and I think what that adjustment probably pushes them up further.
It does. And I don't think anybody's going to lose their whole army because of Manticore.
No, I think the reality is you're going to see a different style of army on the table, which is always good. And then I think with this being able to give orders after they get out of vehicles is going to change a lot of their gameplay style a lot in a good way. So that's amazing. So I see a lot of good potential. They could potentially be up to 50 to 60% win rate. If you have like if it's Kyle, it's like 70% win rate. Oh. And then if it's me, it's probably 30 because I don't know the army.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, yeah. If you just handed somebody the book and we're like, here you go, right?
Yeah. Now, if I copied you, I feel like I would do better. Yeah. For sure.
Well, yeah. But I mean, again, that's everybody's got their native tongue they speak, right? I'm not a great Tau player. You're a much better Tau player than I am, right? I know you pointed the marker light at him, and then you shoot him with a gun, right? That's like pretty much the technique I got, right?
Yep. Basically. Yep. So we'll move on. Ooh, look, we can see us. Oh, I like this see-through thing. Oh, this is another one of your babies.
2 Kyles in a row.
Two Kyles in a row. Black Templars.
Okay.
Boo!
Yeah. What you might look at this and be like, oh, Black Templars got hit. There's a couple important things to say here. First of all, Helbrecht was at a level that was unreal.
Oh my gosh, he killed everything.
And he was 95 points.
Yes.
And that was embarrassingly low.
Oh my
goodness.
So
if you are a Templars player out there and you're like, oh, he was too low. Okay. You need to sit down. 95, like as somebody who plays guard, if you put that unit, if you put that Mao in guard would pee their pants.
Oh
Right? Like they'd be so excited.
He'd be going up the middle, killing, while
Right.
artillery killed everything before him as well.
And he'd be like 150 points. 120.
Oh yeah. How much is Leontis? You usually know.
Leontis off the top of my head is 180.
And he is nowhere near what
Not
that
even
guy does.
close.
Not even the same
And
league.
look, bear in mind, he's the axis that turns the whole thing. But Helbrecht also, I played a game with Helbrecht last night where Helbrecht and the Helbrecht came out, killed a monolith, killed the Nightbringer.
That sounds about right.
And then he was still alive.
Yep.
And so then he was facing off against other stuff, right? He was just like, I'll just kill everything. He killed Caesaris too. Sorry, I forgot that. He killed like 3 guys on the way in. And bear in mind, that was in like Crusaders or whatever, but it's still super strong. So other stuff on this.
Yes.
Crusader Blob up 10 points. That's reasonable. They were too low.
Yeah.
What is not on here? Hey, how much is the increase on Sword Bros?
I can't see him very well, but let's see. Is that Crusade Squad?
Sword Brothers?
Sword Brothers. It's see-through, so it's hard. Let me put my head in the way.
I actually know, Steven.
You know, tell me then. Why do you make me look? 0. That's good.
That's really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did not nail these at all. And so if you are playing Space Marines, one of the points that I heard made that I think is valid is they said, yeah, go to town. The units that are specific to certain factions are like generally better than the generic version.
Yeah, exactly. They do what they do well.
And so the fact that Black Templars are got a complete pass on what, like, if they'd taken a Helbrecht to 150.
Helbrecht at 120 is still
really good.
I would have him in my army every time at 120. No complaints.
Yeah, I think you'd have to drive him way up before I take him.
Yeah, and I found one way to deal with him. You land a full squad of Crisis Suit led by a wonderful Cold Star, and then you watch him and his whole squad die.
Yeah, I believe that would happen.
Plasma rifles, they put him in the dirt so fast. I actually killed so I had so many exploders that even though I killed his whole unit, he still had to make 10 saves. And he was like, yeah, I'm dead. That's the only way.
Yeah, and that's a good way to get him. Again, this was in Necrons where I was like, well, I'll take care of the monoliths so they can't shoot me. And then I'll let this other guy charge me. Oh, he killed 4 of my guys. Helbrecht's then like, all right, okay, well, I'll go kill you too, right?
Yeah,
and then, like, it only works if you prioritize targets correctly.
Exactly.
But Black Templars, it's in a good spot.
Very good spot. Still. Blood Angels.
This is where you have some big feelings.
I'm very happy for them. You don't see the points change, and that's fine. But what I'm excited about is on the charge, +2 strength, plus 1 attack. Holy cow! That's gonna that's what Blood Angels want to charge you, and this, and I think they also have lethal hits if I remember correctly. So they're just chomping through you very efficiently.
And the fact that Death Company did not go up. Right?
Yeah.
Death Company was a strong unit. They're still a strong unit. Sagittarium Guard, if you like Sagittarium Guard, I'm sorry, they're still not good.
Sadly.
But they've got plenty of characters who want to rock your body, right? They do. And right? Blood Angel's in a good spot. So basically, with +2 strength, they end up being effectively what they were, which is most of the time they're +1 to wound. Yep. Sometimes not.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a Death Company going into somebody. They already got their chain swords. Now their chain swords are 6/1/1 and lethal hits. Oh dear goodness, you're gonna
clear some stuff, right? Yeah. You're gonna clear some stuff, and I think Blood Angels see a nice, and I think it's gonna balance fairly well because we're gonna get to Space Marines. I don't have good news there.
Yep.
And
I have some, but we'll talk more about it.
Sure, sounds good.
But the reality is, does this put Blood Angel top tier? No, but it's going to get them out of the gutter. They're going to be at least 45 to probably 50% win rate, which is a good place to be. We're going to see good Blood Angel players win matches.
And there's a lot of good Blood Angel players.
There really is. Yep. Let's move on. Chaos Demons. They've got so many points changes.
They've got a lot, and I admit to being embarrassingly familiar with this, but I know some things, and I will tell you some things, and then we'll talk about them.
I'll go look at a message my friend sent me so I can review that. Go ahead.
If you're demons, I got good news. You're going to get more stuff, right? You're going to get more stuff. And the people who are trying to borrow from you and be like, I'll just use Nurglings, I'll just use Blue Scribes.
Yep.
Those people all get punished.
They all get punished. And deservedly so.
Absolutely. So some big winners out of here. Khorne's a big winner.
May I bump in real quick? Just to clarify on the lethal hits, it's a 1 CP strat. For Blood Angels, continue.
Absolutely. So, if you were playing, wanted to play Khorne,
Yes.
and you wanted to play, you wanted to play, 18 Blood Crushers.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah,
the
they're
points
so
are there.
scary.
If you want to play a whole bunch of Great Unclean ones, you're like, I want 4 of them. It's like 900 and change. Right?
Oh, wow. That might be worth it.
That might be worth it, right? And there's some stuff that's been good previously that probably still is not. Like Shalosky's probably, or not. I always pronounce that wrong. But the big,
No worries.
the big Slaanesh named character, right?
Yes.
I don't.
Lord of Change? No, I'm thinking of some wrong guy. Continue.
Lord of Change is the other one.
You're talking about the one with who's really fighty and has like 4 arms.
Correct.
Yes. Whatever that thing is.
Yeah. So she is still probably a little too much, even though she's really, really good.
Yes.
Shalaxi.
You'll never have more than 1.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
If you take her at all.
Yeah, and then in general, so I think you're getting more stuff on the board.
There's so many point changes for them.
And I don't know if it's enough to top tier them. I kind of doubt it is, because the people I know who are playing demons weren't like super enthused.
And the reality is for someone who's been playing since 3rd edition and all that, GW has in the past been very bad about balancing. They tend to just woof, and then you're like, oh dear goodness. But I feel like they're really trying to keep the armies where they don't punch up too hard, and it's a good change.
Yeah. So I think demons in general, again, we're going to short shrift them a little bit, because again,
they're not. Either one of us don't play them. Neither one of us.
My friend who plays them was, I think, interested, but it's not the first thing he leaped to, because he's like, well, there's changes, but I think that demons, if I'm really honest, and this is not to be a negative Nelly, I think they just want a book. I think they want a book.
I agree with you. So let's move on. Chaos Knights, they remain good and a good spot. I mean, they brought down the big knights, which is good. Of course,
they got hit right in one bad spot.
The spot where everyone's bringing brigands.
Yeah.
Those had to be dealt with in some way. You're still going to see them on the table, but now you're not going to see so many.
And you're not going to see 3 allied in. Because
exactly.
now it's over,
yes.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
And so they want you to take the autocannon guy. They want you to take the big knights. You're still not going to. You're still not going to, but they want you to.
Yeah, you might take one. But
you might take one knight. I think
they're better without the big knights.
I think that if you want to, I think there's a lot of stuff in this data slate that is a knockout hit. I think knights might be a little bit of a miss, even with the help.
Yeah.
Right. I think that ultimately Chaos Knights is still going to be a very strong army. If you're not prepped for them, you should be prepped for them.
They're the mid-tier bully for sure.
They are, and you can just roll poorly against them. They can roll really well, and maybe you're in trouble, right? They can charge
you turn 1 right through a building.
Right through a building, right? If you think you're safe, you are not.
Exactly.
And so carnivores didn't change. I think that you'll see more carnivores. I think that's good. I think carnivores are often the what I counted when I was playing against knights opponents. I count how many carnivores they have left. I don't count how many brigands they have left.
Yeah.
Because the brigands are dangerous, but the carnivores are what can just scoop up a bunch of stuff really fast.
They really can. They're so crazy good. Okay, we're moving on. Space Marines,
but naughty Space Marines.
Oh man, they did hit them pretty well.
They did.
Well, I'll let you get your insight in, and then I'll share my friend's insight.
Okay, so a couple of things. I think that if you're a CSM player, you're probably not surprised. They got some important rules changes, one of which was Nurgle strat, not 12 inches, 18 inches.
Yep.
There's also, you're getting, I believe, to reroll wounds, not to reroll hits.
That's the exact thing they did to Harlequins. Remember when it used to be 12 and then they turned it to
18? Yeah.
It's a reliable nerf.
I mean, it works. If it works, it works.
Yep.
And then you no longer get to revive your accursed cultists in both turns.
Thank gosh.
It was annoying.
It was too much.
It was too much. You played against it.
If you did not kill them in one shot, they were back to full strength within like 2 turns.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
And they would kill things that were a little stronger than again, if you had no way of blocking the -1 AP, right?
Yeah.
And so they're also getting less on the table, so you're getting fewer accursed cultists if that's what you want to bring.
Yep.
Your Chaos Lords got whumped, right? A bunch of points. 95. That's more than a Space Marine captain.
Yep.
Chosen got whumped. So
which need to be because
they needed to be. They're plus 20 plus.
People
40.
were spamming the heck out of them.
Well,
so
they were really good.
They were.
They were way too good.
They were. Yeah.
Dark Commune went up. Forge Fiend, yeah, it went up.
It had to. It was punching up so well.
And so you're still gonna see one of these bad boys licking on the table, but they're gonna be like.
They're going to be like, what was it? What did you choose last game? You had one that was Nurgle and one that was...
You're doing one Nurgle one. And then one Undivided.
Right?
Right?
Oh, so, yeah.
And then you were like, oh man, I could have shot at that thing the whole time, right? And you were right to be because these
I just assumed it was another Nurgle one because every time I've played into them, I've never seen it be nothing but Nurgle.
Right.
So I'm like, well, if I shoot at that one, it's Nurgle. If I shoot at that one, it's Nurgle. You know what I mean? So then you're just like, well, I'll just deal with other problems.
The one good news is...
Yes.
If you were running 3 Khorne Lord of Skulls...
Oh, it's the Khorne Lord of Skulls days.
The Khorne Lord of Skulls days have returned.
They really
have. That's back.
If you only own one, you probably need to.
Yeah, you probably should get more. But if you only own one, why do you only own one? Right? I say that. I only own one now that I think about it. But the key thing here is Obliterators went up, Warp Talons went up. CSM was at a point where they were consistently too good. They just got too much stuff on the table. You're going to get less stuff. It's going to be less potent. Yep. But you know what? I still don't think I still think CSM is going to be in probably a high A list.
Yeah, they're just now forced to play other units, and we'll see what they can do, right? Because there's still a good chance. Obliterators, I don't think did they touch them? I don't.
Yeah, they did.
They did okay.
They did,
Obliterators were good,
but they're not like wildly. It's 180 for 2. Before I think it was
like 160 or
somewhere
like that. So this isn't huge, but we're gonna probably see more weapon squads, like a bunch of las cannons downrange, just hammering you on 3s.
They did not actually hit like regular CSM squads.
Exactly.
Regular CSM squads are pretty good, guys.
They really are.
Right. I think that also you've got some characters to choose from that are pretty darn solid.
Yep. Variety is the spice of life, and and GW is just helping you realize that.
Yeah, and you could work some knights into it. There's like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So they're not terrible. We're just gonna finally see different lists. And I'm happy about that.
We can't talk about Dark Angels.
We can't because they came down in points, right?
No, this is the problem. Okay, so if you're
tell me.
At this point, the Dark Angels Codex refers to this document, and this document is wrong.
Oh no!
It has things that the Codex has said are not real. For example, this is like enjoy 10 knights. Do that, guys. That's not in the. I think in the Codex that's not there, right? So my buddy who's playing Dark Angels is like, well, I guess I'm just ignoring this, right? Yeah. And so Dark Angels is TBD, right? We don't really know what's going on with that. Hopefully they get that sorted out soon because a lot of people love that arm.
That's pretty fair. Death Guard. Okay, we're just gonna move on. We don't like them anyway.
But the Warren's in the chat.
I know. I want to torture Warren, so it's always fun.
Well, Warren's probably in a good mood though, because
he seems to be. He's really excited to talk about him.
Yeah, and there's good things to say here. So a couple of things. They got a couple of nerfs, small nerfs in the
their Plague Burst Crawler went up.
Plague Burst Crawler went up. They also can't toss infinite grenades.
Oh, that's nice.
Right? They not the guard style, which was you could do that, but like the silly. I'm going to chuck a grenade from every one of my grenade guys.
Oh,
in one
dear
turn.
Goodness!
Yeah, because they could do that, and that they said they can't do that.
I'm glad I never ran into someone doing that to me.
It was annoying. It was legitimately annoying.
It's very powerful. And then, of course, their regular soldiers went up.
Their regular guys went up, and we're not surprised to see PVCs because again, this is the great slaughtering of out of line of sight guns.
Yep,
that's an out of line of sight gun, and so I think that Death Guard ends up being a sort of mild casualty, but Death Guard's been doing fine. They've got enough play. I think that there's a case that. A unit of Terminators with Typhus looks pretty good.
Brutal.
I think you're running one, right? And I think bloat drones going down and puts them in a competitive spot. It's all stuff Warren likes to run.
Yeah, exactly. So Warren's army basically got better.
Yep.
And then he's a little disappointed in the Nurglings, but to be honest, everybody who could take them was abusing the heck out of them. So it is good to see that they're not as desirable.
I think that also you'll still find other junk units, right? This is another thing to say that is consistent across the board. GW wants you to have to play some legitimate units to do work.
Yes.
So yes, some armies have the benefit of having a little base like this of scarabs or what's the one that Nids have rippers.
Oh, Ripper Swarms. Yes.
Yeah, little Ripper idiots that you drop in and they do a thing right, and they're like, oh, I hope you don't have flamers, right? But Nurglings, I think, were a little. It was obnoxious how many you could get, and GW seems to have a problem where they can't figure out how much Nurgling should cost. I swear they get nerfed and they get buffed, and they get nerfed and they get buffed every edition. So.
How about we just do a halfway point?
Yeah,
you know,
like they'll be decent,
exactly.
Right? And I think that's probably where they are.
And that's pretty good. But Death Guard are continuing to look pretty good. They are definitely a challenge to deal with. They're slow, so if you're a fast army like I usually play, I'm fine. But if I have to go anywhere near them, it just becomes very challenging.
That hurt the hurt on the armor save starts to feel bad, and
your strength and all these things that are happening, whatever the heck, it just becomes too much. Even a good melee army starts really struggling. Which is not a bad thing, but it's just when I think balance of a slow plus scary when they get close, it's probably a good thing. So
I think ultimately they're still a very winnable army.
Yeah.
I think that they are challenging to take to an event because one of the things you want to do is you want to have an army that's like, oh man, in the last turn I'm going to do one blazing action. I'm going to advance and charge with my whole army. I'm going to blank with my whole army.
Yep.
Death Guard doesn't really get to do that.
Yeah.
Death Guard is slow and steady, wins the race, and they can do it very well.
Yes.
But you have to be very smart about it, and you have to be smart about where you drop in and where you reserves and where you roll. So
it's kind of interesting, right? Because if you play a fast army, you move too much and you can lose the game. And you got now this slow army where you have to plan out your moves way in advance because you need to be where you need to be at the right time.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. So that's Death Guard. If you don't like it, what GW?
Don't play Death Guard.
Yeah. Don't play Death Guard or get good.
I think Death Guard is just it can be challenging.
Death Watch. I don't see any changes. And they've been doing well. Not a lot of people play them. The people that are playing them are very good players because they punch up hard. But it's an army that's rarely played. If you run into it, it's more bad luck than anything else.
Yeah, and I think Death Watch sometimes can be an army that can be when it's like meta dominant is like it feels bad because they tend to have a lot of tricks that are very specific. Again, they can be a high information army, so I don't think I'm too sad to see Death Watch stay the same. Right?
Yep. Drakari. Now it's my turn. I am so excited. You don't even know. The Void Reavers, I'm fine with. I didn't even play with them. I tried them once and they just whiffed too much.
Sure.
But the rest of the army is, and the fact that we get new detachment rules, this army is like revitalized. It's going to do the things it's always want to do. I love the fact now we can get out of a boat. We have, if you're shooting at people, you ignore cover. If you want to charge them, now you are strikes first. These are all the things that Drakari usually are very good at, want to do anyways. Now, Incubi are back on the table. I don't think you bring more than one, but now you have a choice what it's attached to. You can either bring, of course, Drazar, or you can bring the Archon. And the Archon's nice in his way because he lets you reroll wound rolls of 1. Or if that unit is given a pain token, now it can reroll all wounds. That's very good. And then Drazar, of course, +1 to wound. And he can fight twice. Holy cow. And he dropped points. Now he's the same price as an Archon. Totally worth taking on the table. Witches, before no one played them. Now, holy cow. Succubus is down to 45 points. How do you not play one?
Someone back in time in 9th edition who's been abused by Drakari, right? Yep. When they were really good. I wish I could go back in time and be like, they're 45 points, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So Drakari is going to go up in win rate for sure. I don't think this is going to win a tournament regularly, but a skilled player like, let's say, Skari is going to win events with this. I already sent Skari a list and he liked it, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
And so this is, I feel very excited about Drakari. They're going to be back on the stream. We're going to play them this Saturday into AdMech so we can really see what they can do. There's just so many good things. And then, of course, now they have this rule that if you're wholly within 3 of a boat, the troops can get back in.
Yep.
This is what elves do generally. So them have it back, thank you, right?
I fully will just echo what you said and say, if you think you've played against Drakari in 10th, you haven't.
You haven't. This new detachment changes the game. I believe this is a detachment we're playing, and I think you're going to be very terrified.
And I think one of the things to say about this too is that Drakari's been in a weird spot because they got they've been kind of kicked around because Eldari's been good.
Yep.
And so if you're Cody Giroux and you're like, oh man, I'm going to mix this stuff around, right? then you're like, oh man, I'm gonna play these Ravagers. The Ravagers get hit. Why are Ravagers getting hit? They're getting hit because Eldari's good. Now because Drakari was good, right? And so now there's a little bit more independence there, and I think you are going to see again. It's the number one thing I've been getting all day from people who in the community is getting Drakari lists, and I'm looking at my list and I'm playing Space Marines. Like I'm like, oh man, I got 11 units to do things. Drakari, I counted in one of them. I was like, well, there's 20.
Yeah, right? They have a lot of ability. They have the ability to put so many miles on the table. Now, like Mandrakes were already good, but now you have no excuse but to, not to bring 2 because the points dropped everywhere else. We're looking at an army now that's very mobile, can come out of the shadows, can still hit you with dark lances, can still do all these things, and now they have melee. They're going to be like, it feels more like a board control army, leaning towards that way.
Yeah, if you think like, oh, they're going to drop Scourges in and shoot me to death, maybe.
They're probably sitting in the backfield now just going pop, pop, pop.
I had that happen to me, and I was like, I'll just pop smoke, and it hit me on 5s, right? And then I was like, I don't care. Right?
Exactly.
And then you got a wound, too. So, like, I think that Drakari has more options to try and get you. They got more to play with. I think it's a well-built detachment that we're going to be happy to see.
Exactly. I mean, I'm ecstatic. So thank you, GW.
I think you're about to be ecstatic again.
Oh, here we go. Round 2. Oh, my goodness. The only thing they really touched is the one thing I'm really happy about, right? We got Pure Strain Gene Stealers. Cheap.
Yep.
My new list has one full block of them with, of course, the I can't never remember his name.
Broodlord?
No.
Yeah.
The king of them all. I always forget his name. I have 2 of them over there. I should know. But either way, that combination is going to be great because one, now if you're within 12 inches when the unit stops moving, they battle shock you. Amazing. That's always useful. It comes in clutch. Then, because they're so cheap, you can run a full squad, and then I'm running 2 small squads because they have infiltrate. Now I can put out here and kind of block you off so you can't get too close, still have a good shooting, but then have a really cheap hammer coming at you too that will kill stuff. So I'm excited with this new change. We're not stuck playing the list. Now we can experiment.
And I think that's good. I think that, GSC didn't see huge changes, but again, one of the things to say is a lot of the big predators in the meta got leveled out. Right, so it's a new ball game in that way, right?
Yep.
A lot of the armies that you would have been been like, yeah, but it'll just get Nightspinner to death.
Yep.
Right, or you know what, they can't kill enough Chosen.
And it's a Patriarch. Thank you, chat. I haven't played him at all really.
The Patriarch didn't ever see a lot of play.
Now he has potential.
He does.
So I like it, especially when he's his attacks are 6/2/2. He can hurt you.
He picks up Marines. I think it's Twin Link too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Twin Link.
Yeah,
so he's going to pick up Marines, and that's what you want. And then Gene Stealers with the AP2, they can pick up stuff really easily. And then also you can then punch them up higher with their AP, which is great.
Well, we're talking about those with Chris with Nids because they do hit, right? And they went down. So that's a nice little deal.
Exactly. So, and then I haven't compared the Nids version compared to Pure Strain. Usually Pure Strain make Nid players very sad because they're like, why is yours so much better? Because they're pure.
The Nid ones get dev wounds. I think they're safe.
Oh, I wish I had dev wounds.
Yeah,
that actually pretty dang good.
I think their save is worse though or something.
Yeah, we have a 5 invulnerable and that kind of stuff. Grey Knights.
Grey Knights looks radically different. They
took out the mind bomb, if you will.
The mind bomb. But what this doesn't reflect what's actually happening, which is one of my favorite units that I've gotten to play in forever. It's a baby carriage.
Yes, baby carrier.
Baby carriers are back on the menu, baby. They were their melee weapons sucked. Their shooting weapons sucked.
Yep.
And so everyone who was playing them was just like, oh, warp around and I'll go here and I'll be hypercrypt, but I'm not hypercrypt.
Yeah.
Now they have some choices. I think you're going to see Drago see some play. Finally, good. Which is good. We like that guy, right? I think you're going to see again some big pieces with the Psy cannons getting AP2, ignores cover.
Oh, that's super good.
And it's a good profile.
Yes.
It's a good profile to clear stuff, right? It's not going to kill boatloads of armor.
But it'll do something.
Light armor, it'll definitely kill. It's probably not killing a Land Raider or something, but they have more ability to dish out damage. That's exciting. I think that people who like Grey Knights will still be playing Grey Knights, right? And I think that you got some more options.
Exactly.
Nice.
Grey Knights are a big brain army, and especially the way they play now. And getting variety in there is always good. So we're glad to see this. Not overly touched. They maybe could have used a little bit of a point reduction here or there, but otherwise they're fine. I would have liked to see like strikes go down a little bit.
Would have been nice to see.
You know, because
Yeah.
nobody's really playing them. You know, for the most part, they're kind of more like, oh, I'll control an objective or I'll do an action. But you don't see them heavy in lists like they used to be, which is fine. But it would be nice to see more than just a 5-man unit.
And I think that again, this is another army where I'm like, I want to see the book.
Yes,
because I've played Grey Knights in the past. For a long time I had the very last of the soup list, which was Grey Knights and Astra, and GW was forced to acknowledge they existed, and then they're like, all right, we'll blast them out of existence. They did.
Exactly.
Very effectively. But
he just had to throw away all of his guard army after every tournament because they couldn't remember what they saw.
Remember what had happened right now. But they died in much higher numbers than the Grey Knights did.
Yes, they did.
And so the Grey Knights, unfortunately, have not been in a build that I love. They're much more sort of movie bouncy. I'll be interested to see what other detachment options we get.
Yeah, it'll make it interesting, right? So let's see what we got now. Imperial Knights. Now they got touched a lot, and in a good way.
They did.
They're not calling the principal.
No, they are not, and they are. So a couple of things. One, they got some big rules changes, right?
Okay.
Bondsman, I think now works the way you want it to.
Good.
Which is the big knight gets it too. They both get to party.
So they went back to that actually, because I thought they took it away before.
They did, and I believe
they realized it was a.
If in the chat, if I'm wrong about this, I haven't studied too closely, but I saw they got rules changes. They get to re-roll.
Hey, Matt Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they got a. Does he only play naughty ones? I think he only plays naughty ones.
Matt Anderson?
Yeah.
He loves naughty things. He loves chaos. If it's spiky, he loves it.
I thought you were asking about Imperial Knights. Okay.
No, sorry. He likes spiky things.
Oh, yeah. And he loves naughty knights. Okay, so
yes.
They get to now re-roll a hit and a wound, which is nice.
Yep.
So that's strong, and then they got some help here.
They're definitely going to punch up, and if they did do the Bondsman thing, like you said, they're definitely punching up.
Yeah, and one of the things to say is their very best unit was Canis Rex.
Yes, he was.
And Canis Rex is cheaper than he was.
So he's definitely going to be in the list.
Yeah,
even more.
You're not building without Canis Rex. So Canis Rex is money.
Exactly.
Right, and
his prayers. They still have prayers. I know in 9th edition he had prayers. Basically, he was like he could give out like abilities. I never really looked. So let us know if he does still do kind of like that ability.
He's still really good. I mean,
no matter what, he's good.
Yeah.
I just when I played against a knight player in LVO, he did not use those kind of things, even though he was on the table. So maybe he doesn't have it, or maybe he didn't know. I don't know.
I don't think he does, but I think what he does is he is just he
gives out 2 bondsmen. I know that
he does, and his Jack. I was watching Jack Kolarski play him at the Mayhem tournament.
Yeah,
and he was like he's interesting because he's got the one gun that I would think would be clearing tanks, and I'm clearing infantry with it. And he's like, I got the other gun that I would think would be for killing vehicles, or would think would be for killing infantry and killing vehicles with it. Right? And so I mean, the guy hits like 5 trucks in close combat, right? Like he punches, he's strength 20, does some absurd amount of damage, right? He's super strong, but I will say this, I think that Imperial Knights needed a lot of help. They weren't doing well. I think they got some help, and I think that you will see more of them. Are they winning tournaments? I would be surprised.
They had won one since they've been nerfed, so potentially they still are, but only the very best.
Yeah,
the top tier players.
And I think that maybe it's now the case that you can have a good run with them.
Yep.
It depends. Again, I think that if you run into something like Necrons
will be tough. They're usually good at killing vehicles. AdMech will be very happy to see you. You're looking at stuff like that. Even Gene Stealer Cult would love to deal with you.
Yeah, I think Knights is tricky. You still don't have the ability to run through walls. That's tough. And so
if they gave them that, oh my goodness, my head would hurt.
Yeah, I think you would. I think they are not bad. They're not bad.
They're not bad.
Speaking of things that are not bad,
Votan.
Been talking to a lot of Votan people, and so the things that have changed here is they got punched into good stuff.
Yes, they did.
Sagittars, we knew they weren't going to stay at 95.
No, and to be honest, they're still going to be coming, but now you probably won't see 6.
Yeah, you might still see 6.
You might, but you might not, right? It's potential.
Right.
Because that army has a couple ways to play, right? They can do board control, kind of like an area denial thing if they're doing tons of Sagittars and splitting everything up. But what I saw at the tournament was they were taking those Terminator-style ones, and you would see 3 blocks of them, and you're like, they are so hard to kill. and they're a nightmare because they'll just keep marching towards you, and you're not really doing much to them. And then they got, of course, the Thunderkins just mowing down vehicles. It's just like, ah!
Yeah, the Hearthguard going up 20, I don't feel
Hearthguard,
I don't feel too bad for him. The Thunderkin were underpriced. They were a little too easy to spam.
Yep.
What I would have liked to see happen a little bit, and I was talking to Dan Sams about this, was that I think that the Fortress is a little overpriced, right?
Yes, it needs to come down.
That needs to come down a little bit.
200 points would be nice.
Yeah, 200 I think would have been fine,
yeah.
right? Because it's still not hitting as hard as some of the other stuff. You have to invest in it. I think that you could have brought it down 15 or 20 or something. Yeah. Because that's the one that really doesn't see much play.
Its main job, if you bring it, and you'll probably only bring one at this point, is it's meant to soak up fire while delivering a unit, and then it doesn't last after that.
Yeah.
But that's not worth 225 whatever points. But at 200, 180, I would say it's worth it now. And I'd probably bring two.
Yeah, I think at Land Raider prices, it doesn't deliver Land Raider damage.
Yeah,
right? And it doesn't.
Yeah, Land Raiders will do far more work than they will.
Yeah, and Land Raiders. Well, we'll get to Land Raiders.
Yeah,
we'll get to Land Raiders. I think we're on to.
So Votann are just in a more interesting place, but
they weren't going to get off with nothing.
Exactly,
and they probably comparatively got off light. Yeah.
Here we are, untouched Necrons. Let's talk about how dirty these guys are. Now.
I'm making a face.
Yeah, we're making a face because Necrons currently have two lists they can play. They can play the detachment where they're just like, I pick up 3 units and I put them back down. And then they got a Canoptic Court. Both of them are hard to deal with.
They're hard to deal with.
And they won LVO. They were at a 57% win rate. They won LVO by luck. I will give that. That was an amazing roll of double sixes.
Matt Laura. Yeah, Matt Laura.
And that small mistake of having his guy a little over so it could land.
Yeah.
That was a bit that really was a huge mistake.
Yeah, I think that matchup did not look good for what was the into? What was he into?
He was in Eldari.
Eldari, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't look great. Like, here's the thing. Necrons love the Eldari matchup. They love it.
Yep.
Right? Because they just out Eldari. Right? They do. They just like, okay, you want to remove my race? Good, give it a try. Right?
Give it a try, exactly. And the thing is, right now is we still don't know where they're going to punch up, but they're obviously going to stay top tier. And as Travis, who's in the chat, will say before I let him, typically, is that the guy who won LVO with Necrons, he won all of his matches by a few points.
True.
He did not destroy people, so there's still a game there for you. You just have to. I think once we see more of them, people will start adapting, and then we'll see them probably stabilize at maybe 54% win rate. I hope.
We hope. I think that one of the things to say is if you want to talk about before it was like, can you deal with Night Spinners and Yakaran? Can you deal with these other things? I think the new level of is a list competitively operable is, can you deal with Catan?
Yeah.
Can you deal with 2 of them and then blobs of these things? And the good news is a lot of stuff can. I literally played Travis last night.
And funny story, just before you go into that detail, even at LVO, I had the guy next to me, Necron versus Black Templar. Black Templar picked up 3 of them on turn 2.
Yeah.
Just picked them right off the table. The guy was like in shock. Of course, he rolled badly. That's not the norm. But it just proves
you don't have to roll that well for it to happen.
Exactly. But ultimately the point is they can be dealt with. You just have to figure out how.
Yeah. And so no, absolutely. When I played into Travis last night, I mentioned that I picked up a bunch of stuff with the Hellbrick, and we basically
with the Hellbrick.
That's what it's
like you chuck him at him.
Oh, dude, you just are like, here's go into the monolith, go into this guy. Right, and if it's still alive, I don't know what's happened. Right, and so they just hit like a truck if they're in Righteous Crusaders. Don't get near that unit. You have to play around it.
Yeah,
because it'll go lethal hits, sustained hits. Right, and then it's activating on 5s.
Oof.
And then everything's +1 strength. Everything's +1 damage.
So they're gonna hurt you real bad.
Oh man,
that's why I shot them off the board, because I didn't want to deal with them head to head.
Yeah, that's a logical choice, right? And so. Anyway, that's to say that Black Templars is an army that can do it. There's a lot of armies that can do it.
Yes.
But you don't build your army not thinking, I'm going to a competitive event. I'm going to see Necrons. You should have that in mind.
Yes.
Right.
There should be at least a couple tools to deal with them, because we know for a fact now that they've won LVO, that alone is going to drive Necron players that weren't really playing them competitively to the competitive scene. We're going to see a lot more of them for sure. And if they are top tier, we're going to see them so much.
Yeah.
It will be a cry fest.
So
you have to deal with them.
You have to deal with them. So come armed.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Now we're going to orcs.
This feels like
a side side grade. No debuff, but forced into other choices. The fact that kill rigs have gone down so much in point, 170, that is in my list, bro. I'm taking 2 of them.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Kill rigs look real.
They look so good. You're still bringing your beast boys in there.
You're still hero hammering it. I think that the stuff.
You're still taking knobs. They didn't go up that much.
No, you're taking at 230.
You just won't bring 3 squads. You'll bring 1 to 2. That's my mindset. Yeah. But I haven't tried to build the list with them yet, so I can't totally say.
You're probably right. You're probably not. But you could.
You could.
And you wouldn't be out that much.
No, you're really not. Like
you're up 30 in the list. You're like, I got some.
Yeah, most of the armies that I play, for example, like Votan, only like my list that I put together for Votan, which most people are playing, only went up 140 points.
Yeah.
You can adjust to that. Like not Necrons, but my Drakari.
Necrons aren't doing much adjusting at all. Yeah.
My Drakari came down in points, so it was like I'm like, whoa, this is fun. I haven't totally looked at orcs. I just went a glance, and I was already excited.
There's good stuff here. A lot of so they want you to buy the buggies, guys. They want you to.
Yeah,
please go buy the buggies.
Now, if I could tell you anything, out of all the buggies, take the one with the spew gun because it makes you -1 to be hit if he just hits you. So this is a good unit, and if it does hit you a lot, which it can potentially do, it's great at killing Marines.
Yep.
So this is a unit that's going to make it hard for it to be shot at, which orcs can survive a lot of shooting, but being -1 to be hit is fantastic. So we're looking at. Even scrap jets are looking way better.
They are.
I would like to see them come down a little 10 more points because then you guarantee play them. And then of course the flamer, not the flamer buggy, but the one where it has all the Molotov cocktails is all right.
One of them got a gun back.
Yeah, they added a gun. They actually gave it melee. Before it had no melee. Now it has spiky wheels. Thank you. And it's actually Marine level killing.
That's nice.
So this is good. So we like this. So orcs are going to continue winning events. They're going to stay where they are, I think, and they're just going to be that board control army that we all come to love.
And I think orcs are at a good spot.
Yep.
I mean, I think Sean Naden showed, he didn't quite make it at LVO, but he was
disappointed. But he is such an amazing player.
He's an amazing orc player, and I think that what it's demonstrative of is that the orcs in general have a strong tactic. It works. It works well. You don't get to play recklessly with it, right? I mean, I'm not saying he did, but you don't get to play recklessly with it. And I think that part of what we're seeing here is a very brief history. When buggies came out, they were unreal. And they were way too good. And GW was like, "Oh, press the gas on that one, right? No, press the brake on that one."
Yeah. But now we're looking a lot better.
We're looking a lot. And then they got nerfed down. Now we're coming back up where we're seeing more play with that.
Yep, exactly. So we're going to see buggies again. I'm really excited. Honestly, the other one that's really good in there is a Jump Shock Dragster. This is a unit that can catch people off guard because as you try to push orcs back, they'll just advance and be in your backfield. And it's the only orc unit that I'm aware of that hits on 3s. So it's a big gun. You're going to shoot into vehicles, but now it's going to get there. You're going to be in the backfield where they don't want you. And vehicles are, generally what's in the backfield guarding. It can't deal with these things very well.
And I think that's, it's a good place to be for orcs. I think orcs at a good spot.
I'm super excited about them. Okay, next we're moving on.
One of the least popular.
The Space Marines. Who plays them? I don't know why.
I don't know. Okay, so I'll talk to you briefly about the changes here. So not really much in terms of the actual units themselves, but what happened was all of the units that were good for Marines got kind of nailed.
Yes.
Right. So if you're running big aggressor blob, that got hit. It should not shock you that the Inceptors got hit.
Yep.
Right. They were a little too good. And then the Centurion devs got hit. Right. The Redemptor. That's a little. Redemptor got hit, Scouts got hit, Whirlwinds got nailed.
Oh, jeez.
Like 30 points.
Wow.
And to be fair, Whirlwinds weren't great.
I never saw anyone play them.
Ironstorm.
Okay.
Yeah. But but here's the thing. And there's very little, the stuff that they gave love to, I'm a little disappointed in. Assault Marines got a little better.
Yep.
If you wanted to run a whole bunch of heavy intercessors, I guess now you can.
Yep. And let's be honest, to go back to a statement you made earlier, GW is trying to make artillery pieces less competitive.
Oh,
this
yeah,
is a
I was
perfect-
not sad about the Whirlwind, just to be
No,
clear.
no, and I'm not sad about it either, because none of the armies I really play rely on artillery very much. So
Yeah.
to see them being nerfed is more of a relief, because I'm always like, oh, artillery, you know.
They're nice as a little, and again, I say as a guard player, they're
Yep.
nice as a little spice. Like you're
Yep.
like, you know what, man, I'm playing guard, so all those units you thought were safe, I'm gonna pick up a bunch of those with basilisks. Right?
Now, yeah, exactly. And now let me lean a little bit into the good side. Out of all of the armies, factions, if you will, in the game, Space Marines have the deepest
they do.
variety of unit types and everything. So what I expect is good Space Marine players will just dive into their codex, find the gems untouched, and find a way back to 50%. I think they're going to be like between 45 and 50, and good players beyond. So I see them. Yes, this hurt them a little bit, but let's be honest. Like, they needed it, but they have other units to lean into. So we'll see what kind of nightmare comes out of this.
And I think
Potentially.
and the nerfs that they got are not so crippling you wouldn't consider. Like for example, I'm playing Gladius and
Yep.
aggressors. It's like, well, plus 20 points for 6.
It's not bad.
That's not that bad.
I still play them because they pick up most things.
They're really good,
Yeah.
right? Or like the scouts, you're still going to see 2 units of scouts. Scouts were too cheap at 55. That's
Oh my
reasonable.
God, they were 55.
Yeah,
That's
that was-
way too cheap.
That was unreasonable, right? Like
Oh my goodness.
because they were like, I infiltrate, then I scout, right, and then I pick up and I bounce around. Like, you don't need a Caladius, right? Or I keep saying the wrong one. Next
It's
time.
okay. We were
Yeah,
good.
Absolutely.
But we'll move on because nobody plays these guys.
Speaking of things nobody plays, so, Bam Hunter, unless you're in the
Space
chat.
Wolves,
Yeah.
blah. They didn't get touched. They're
They
gonna be
got
them.
rules changes that were bad.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that.
They
So
got, their chapter thing got a little better, but what you will see now, the only thing I'll say about Space Wolves is
Yep.
that you might very well see, what is it that? Oh, Wolfen. You'll
Yeah.
probably see more Wolfen. There is an argument that like 30 Wolfen is like a solid thing.
yeah,
Right?
agreed. So there's still playable army. The last stats I saw from GW was out of all Space Marine players, 60% of them are Wolf players. So that's a huge
60%?
60% of Wolf players. When you were playing the teams event, I played 5 back-to-back games against them.
I remember
and
you
cried
played
a lot.
I remember you played Wolves a lot.
Yeah, so they're still a very popular army. Now let's jump into my new baby.
Yeah.
New one of my favorite adds to my list of things I play is Tau. I think Crisis are fairly pointed. Because when I looked at this, my Tau list only went up 40 points, and it's because of one block of Crisis.
Is that what went up?
Yeah, so
And
that's
they don't want you just exclusively. doing
exactly.
that.
And then they did a couple good things, right? Riptides were way too overcosted. Now they're 165. I don't think we're still playing them because they're blah on their output. But now you can think about it.
Their defensive profile is so good, though.
Yes, but my point is, their potential there.
There is.
We'll see what happens, right?
T9, I guess T9 is not great, but like the rest of it,
Well, if you look at their data sheet, they're meant to deal with Space Marines, basically.
yeah.
They're not dealing with vehicles, and so that's kind of where I'm like, eh. But we're gonna see them more on the table than we did before.
And one thing, by the way, is you'll notice, and this is a little like thing that you might not think about if you don't play competitive quite a bit. Very hard to hide.
Yes, hard to hide
Very
is scary.
hard to hide. And so if you are like, I'm going to play 3 of these, I hope you're putting some in reserves, because
Yep.
unless you're playing very heavy player placed,
Mhm.
that's quite hard to hide.
Exactly. And then the nice thing is we're seeing the Crisis Commander coming down to 80 points. If you give him the things that he should have, he'll be at like 100. He's probably now an auto take versus the Cold Star Commander, even though the Cold Star Commander gives you 18-inch movement, assault weapons. That's great, but now he costs more. Like, he doesn't potentially cost more. He costs 125, but when you have a choice between a commander that's only 100 points or 110 points, the Enforcer commander is interesting. I don't like the -1 AP because honestly, if you build your Crisis suit correctly, they have 4-up invulnerable.
Right.
So you don't.
And it's a 3-up for it. So the -1 AP, unless you're just using cover very efficiently,
It's not a big deal. So
it's going to help you against very specific weapons.
exactly. So I'm thinking, and then the one thing I will say, Vespid Stingwings are back.
Oh.
They're only 65 points now. They can pick up at the end of your movement and go into reserve and get placed down.
They're like scouts.
They're like the scouts, but they're 65 points. And they
That's how
have
much scouts are now.
exactly right. And they're good at killing Marines
Yeah.
in shooting. So this is a very positive change. I'm excited to see what they can do. They're that unit that you're like, I looks like I'm moving. Oh no, I'm putting him in reserve. And the next turn, I'm in your backfield, or I'm over here doing this. So this is very exciting. I think Tau didn't really need to be touched. For me, right? Like, for example, I only played 8 games with Tau, and then went to LVO and went 3-3. that is a very fair thing to be able to do when you barely know the army. So I think if I knew the army better, I would have probably definitely gone 4 and 2.
Yep.
And I think we had I can never remember his name. Basically, it's O'Shea is his first name.
Yeah.
With a big beard and likes wearing kilts from England, of course. He went 13th with a very different list than me, more elite. He pulled it off.
And
so
one of the things too is Tau. I think if you'd seen a data slate where they just got like wham, they get like a bunch more points or whatever, like they get a bunch of benefits.
Yeah.
That's probably not a great thing because their natural predators also just got killed, right? I think that they probably are not happy that Drakari looks a lot better than it does.
Because they're a nightmare to deal with.
They're a nightmare to deal with if you're Tau because it's hard to get to them.
And they can get to you so fast.
They can get to you very fast.
And we don't want that either. So you'll have to learn how to screen better.
Right, but I also think that you're not just getting blown up by night spinners. That's
Thank
a good
goodness.
thing. That's a good thing. You aren't having to deal with these unkillable accursed blocks, right?
Yeah, because I would have won that game if this happened before LVO.
Right.
So yeah.
No, I think that helps a lot, and I think again we don't want to see. What you want to see from Tau is a combined arms approach. They're trying to push that direction.
Yep.
I think that's good.
And anyone who's played against Tau in 9th, that was so oppressive and so disgusting what they could do back then. We don't want that again. I like the fact that they're in this area where they're fun to play, but they're not oppressive. And I'm glad to see that.
I am deeply surprised that Tetras did not go up.
I don't say that out loud.
I am deeply surprised.
I have 6 of them, and they will remain in my list because they are amazing.
They are really good.
They make your army punch up so hard. And if you don't have Tetras, get them 3D printed. Make sure they look close to what you need. Or you're probably going to spend a little more money this way, is you don't buy the Forge World models, but you buy the Piranhas. You cut the wings off. They're the same frame. And you could just call them kit bashed, and you can play them that way too. So don't be afraid to do that as well. So look for used Piranhas to kit bash into Tetras.
There it is.
Just a little help for you because they're on the same frame.
Dude.
Now we're going to move on because I could talk about Tau for a while. I'm super excited about them, so let's continue.
They're at a good spot. Again, my emphasis here, a lot of stuff in a good spot.
Yep. Now I need to get back over here.
Oh, I think we're about to talk about an army.
There we go. Thousand Suns.
No help.
No help. But they're good into some matchups, but I want to tell you, GSC eat them for breakfast, and they will continue to do so.
Thousand Suns could have used some points help, man.
They really do. They need to be cheaper so they can field a little more.
You start losing guys, you start losing points. Again, I think that's another army that would really benefit from some book choices.
Yep.
I'm a little surprised by that. It feels like maybe they just got forgotten or something. But
I think so too.
Yeah. They got punished super hard for being real good early, and now they're certainly not bad. Connor Johnson did quite well with them at LVO.
Yep.
Right. But a little surprised to see.
Hey, Matt Rundy.
Oh, hey, Matt Rundy.
Glad to hear it. Continue.
No, I don't think there's anything much more to say because I don't think they got data slate changes either.
They need their book at this point.
They need their book.
They're desperate. Okay, Tyranids. Ooh.
Tyranids. I've been talking with Chris all day about this.
Good, because he's very knowledgeable about them.
Yeah, so some things that were getting abused are now got nerfed. We got few. You're not bringing 4 units of gargoyles.
Thank
right?
goodness.
Which is good. I think that was annoying to deal with, and it was a little too much primary control, which they were already good at. You're not probably bringing as many lictors and neurolictors. Again, they were able to just play this lone op game that was a little strong.
Yep.
But one of the strongest units, I asked Chris, I said, well, what happened with Exocrines?
Yeah, what?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. There you go.
So you're bringing 3 of those for sure.
Well, there you go.
I think Maliceptors got hit a little bit. But there's some other stuff that got brought out of the doghouse, which I think we're glad about.
Yeah.
Gene Stealers out of the doghouse.
Yep.
Broodlord out of the doghouse.
Amazing.
Norns, hey, glad to see them seeing the light of day. Because
they need to, because they're like it's a common practice for GW to have mostly new units not be good.
Yeah, and that was certainly the case. Being T11 and then not having a good enough save, even with a 5-up Feel No Pain, is not enough.
Yeah, it's really not.
If
it was a 4-up Feel No Pain, they would be a nightmare to deal with.
And I would not want to deal with them.
Exactly.
But good to see them. Good to see Tyrannofexes, which had just gotten killed on points. They're back to a respectable level. I don't know if you're taking the casino cannon with them, probably. They can really nail something super hard, and then they can roll terribly on damage, or they can do amazingly on damage. You don't really know.
They're swingy.
They're super swingy, and I think NIDS got appropriate adjustments where they shook them up a little bit. Screamer killers. Do you have screamer killers?
You better.
You out there, where are your screamer killers? Go get them, right? Chris sent me the profile from that, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Well,
the thing has freaking 10 attacks at 10 minus 2/3.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you better have them on the table.
Get them on the table. They battle shock you.
Because I remember test playing them at Warhammer Fest.
Yes.
And they went into a 10-man squad of shooting Marines and could not kill them the whole game.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. To hear this sounds like they will pick them up now.
They will
at least in 2 turns.
They will. You could armor of contempt them, and maybe you'd be like, I'm not going to get that many of them. But what I'll say is, I believe they're 145.
Oh wow.
That is a good.
That is a good bullet sponge at the very least.
They didn't kill Old One Eye. Old One Eye is really good. They didn't kill Exocrines. I think that this is a good mix-up of what's there for NIDS. They didn't want you playing the same stuff. I don't think you're gonna be.
Exactly, right? And that's good. NIDS weren't broken, so this is it. You know, they just needed to be adjusted, and that's fine.
And I'd heard really mixed things coming into it. People were like, "Oh, they didn't get any help," and "Oh, they got lots of help." And I'm glad to see this is somewhere in between. I don't think they needed.
It depends on your play style.
Right.
I think that if your play style is one way, then you're like, "Oh, this hurts too much," and if your play style is a little different, then you're like excited.
Then they have different detachments. They got some
exactly.
They've got there. I don't think there's one. It's kind of like Marines. They built the Marines book well. There's not just one uniform way to play them.
Yep.
There's not just one uniform way to play NIDS. It's a good thing.
Exactly. So we'll move on from here.
We're going to a sad place, Steven.
Is this yours or mine? Sad.
It's no one's. It's not mine in particular.
I can't move it. Why am I not moving it?
I know what it is though.
What is it? Go ahead. Yeah, you go there. I'm going to try to get this mouse all the way where I need it to be.
Oh, they ate too much world and now their tummy hurts.
I'm going to run all the world eaters. I'm going to run around and fix this real quick.
Why? Why did they do that? World eaters was good. I don't think they were so good that they needed to just get kicked.
I will tell you one thing. Manny Chima said that he was going to play more player-friendly person for himself, and he was going to play world eaters where they're less competitive. I wonder if he keeps to his word now.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't. So you're still playing the big guy. You're still playing Anagron. You're certainly still playing at least one Master of Executions with the relic that got nerfed.
Well, I know what will be in their lists. What do you think is going to be in their list?
I'm hoping you're saying Cornlord Skulls.
Exactly. Cornlord Skulls for days. They will be running them without question.
Without question. Yeah. So the good news is World Eaters, do they still get to do like Corn Demons?
I think that's an obvious ally.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing.
You could bring some Blood Crushers.
Yeah.
But like you don't get to reroll like they were getting to reroll every time with
casino dice.
Casino dice.
Which was
that was probably not great.
I've had 2 games where he came back every turn that he could. And I know other people who have the same experience. It was too good. It happened
to me at least once playing against
Travis?
No. Trainer.
Trainer, okay.
Yeah. So Trainer, I killed him and he immediately came back, which I wasn't that sad about because I was happy he was dead. And now he's in the back, right?
Yep.
But like, I do think that it's good they don't get the reroll. I think that it was strange to me. The World Eater's Forge Fiend went down, which is very strange, right? Well, yeah,
they get them.
they get them, I guess. But like, I was surprised some of their other stuff didn't.
But let's be honest, that army doesn't have shooting usually. The fact that they now potentially have some in the Cornlord of Skulls and potentially these guys, it's needed.
I think a lot of people were just taking basically the list that probably Anthony Vanilla popularized, and they were just like, slam it, put it in there, right? And
hit the gas pedal and go, go, go.
And look, I'm glad to see they're breaking up the archetype a little bit. I thought that it was a little more than probably World Eaters needed, right? But
it seems oppressive.
It seems a little oppressive, but all things being equal, you still see people playing World Eaters, right? Yep. You still get to, and I guess I would say that with everybody else getting hit, it's conceivable that this doesn't end up just like obliterating that army.
Yeah.
Because it's not so bad that I'm like, oh, they're not going to get.
We're at the end of the list, sir.
I know. Well,
amazing.
And yeah, I mean, we did half of what we talked about.
And if you guys have questions, throw them at us. Because yeah, like you said, we've covered as much of it as we can. With these changes, I think it's exciting to see where this meta is going to go. Potentially, Tower already in a decent spot. They showed them at 45% win rate. But even myself, I was punching like 55% win rate with them pretty consistently. I think they'll remain that way, and we're gonna see them potentially winning some more events.
Yeah, I think that in general, even if you are me and you're like, oh man, I was playing Black Templars, I'm still playing Black Templars. My list changed like all of like, I don't know. I think it was not much. It was like maybe 70 or 80 points.
Yeah.
Right. To the point where, you know, I could maybe lose a unit and it would still be the same army effectively, and nothing about the rest of my army changed. Yep. And the army was already pretty good. Yep. And that's not me being a braggart about it. That's me saying that even if you are me and you're like, I could change nothing, I'm definitely going to change some stuff, guys. Because now I'm looking at it and I'm like, and bear in mind, it isn't just exclusively the stuff that Steven and I went over. It's also like, oh, by the way, if you look in the deeper rules of what changed, they said, okay, what happens when you can't modify a stat line? And all of a sudden I was like, oh, like they clarified, and now that's looking real good. If you go into Catan, you're just like, I guess I'll just kill you, right? You don't get to have my damage because that's just what it is, right?
And that's great, because when I did 24 damage to one and it halved it, made me so sad, and then made a good portion of its
feel. They make like 50%.
Exactly. Right? So if I can push 24 damage into them, there's less likely he survives.
Yeah, the aggravation of I think of some of those things. So what I'm saying is this: we've talked about a lot of cool stuff here.
Yep.
There's some big changes. I think Steven and I feel the same way, which is there's a lot more range of play.
Yep.
There's a lot more you can do, and I think that. What we want to do is keep an open mind, even if you're like, man, my army got totally nailed. It's a good time to try lots of different things.
Right? Exactly. Experiment. See if you can find a way. If you're a person who only has one army, then you should own most, if not the whole range you have, you probably have most of it. You should have the room to adjust and give it a chance, because, you know, like I said, GW is far better at balancing than they used to be. And this is very exciting to see this. I think that GW is just trying to gently poke people in most cases to the right direction, and that's okay.
And again, what we've said is there are some places where I've actively said, I think that's a little bit of a miss, or maybe that's not far enough.
Yep.
I love to be wrong. I love to be wrong, guys. And so go out there, play your army the best you possibly can, learn what works, learn what doesn't work. Even when we have these, I'm someone who played when everybody's like, oh, guard's garbage, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, guard is never quite garbage, right? There's always a build out there for it, because the range is too big, right? And so if you're like, oh, my army's garbage, there probably still is a build, right? And there probably are lots of ideas you can try and throw them up against things, and, prepare yourself for some 3-round games where you're like, I'm going to play against my buddy. We're not playing for the Super Bowl. We're going to just see what works.
Exactly.
Right. And I think
that's what we do a lot.
It is, right. And so I think on a competitive level, that's what you want to do. You play a couple rounds, you say, okay, well, I think this thing's working. I can tell that's doing nothing.
Yep.
Right. And then you adjust from that. You go to back to the drawing board. You have discussions. You grow.
And this goes back to what Kyle and I talk about. If you just go and grab the meta list, you typically don't even know what it's really supposed to do, because when they're out there, they don't go, this is how I built it, this is how you should play it. They just put the list out. This way, by experimentation, you learn and you'll gravitate what goes to your play style, and potentially it goes to the meta anyways. But now you know why, how, all that. So these are key points. Now, as always, if you're new here, please hit the like, the subscribe, the bell icon. Don't forget that this month, would you grab those 2 boxes over here? Let's show everyone what we're doing. If it's right there on the, we'll start with the one that's the top, if you be so kind. Oh, look at you taking, not that box. There we go. Okay, so we're giving away for the end of January. We're going to do this on Wednesday with my daughter, Blackstone Fortress. You can't get this in most cases. So great models in here and a fun game to play. And then, of course, for next month, we're doing another Kill Team box. Kill Team has been very well received as a giveaway item, so we're excited to bring this to you.
Some cool models in there.
Yep, you're gonna get some elves, you're gonna get terrain, and you're gonna get some chaos. So this is a game where you can play in an hour and a half with your friend, and it's just really fun. Sometimes I'm not in the mood to play a 3-hour game, or well, usually me and you, it's 2-hour. But a 1-hour game is hard not to talk me into. So keep it in mind. This is good stuff. We're gonna put this back away. If you're interested in how to get involved, subscribe to the channel. Jump in the Discord, and then you link your account. Boom, it verifies you subbed, and you're entered. And if you're kind enough, check out our Instagram, where we're putting up daily content. We're announcing things. This is a good way to know what's going on with the channel outside of the Discord. So check those things out for us. And as always, hit the bell. Hit that bell icon. Leave a comment. It helps. Good, bad. tell us what we got wrong, or tell us what you think.
Oh, I'm sure I got so much wrong.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're fine with learning. If you come to us with constructive criticism, we will learn from it.
Oh,
Just
100%.
don't flame us, but just constructive.
Yeah.
You know, and we're fine with that. We will learn. We properly flog ourselves, and we move on. Yeah. And then, you know, as always, tomorrow is going to be Kill Team. This Saturday, is that correct? We're going to be playing into each other.
We're playing some AdMech.
We're playing some AdMech into Drakari. We're going to see what Drakari can do now. Lots of cool things coming. And then, of course, we're going to continue with short videos and some longer ones. So your support is greatly appreciated. And as always, this is Steve with Improbable Wargaming, and this is
Kyle.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.